Welcome to Friday Vibes. No script, just chat. We talk all things food and beverage, and so much more. Feel our vibe and search for Friday Vibes on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And make sure to give us a 5-star review. Now your hosts, me, Alex Bear with Genius Juice, and Wade Yeti. All right. Welcome to episode 49 of Friday Vibes. No script, just a happy new year. I decided to get a little bit, that's me being daring and creative and taking chances, Wade. That's my
artistic freedom, Alex.
Exactly.
How's it going?
It's going good, man. It's going good. How was your trip to Carlsbad? Now you're back, right? You're back home.
Yeah. It was awesome. Weather was beautiful. We escaped the just absolutely crazy cold front they had that over this way. Literally the day that everything broke out in cold there is when we escaped, and had a beautiful week there. Got some sun. Brought back a little cold with me, which I'm not happy about, but that's okay. It's all good. But we had a good time. Got to see a few people, some friends, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit. But yeah, it was a good week.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, I came back from Avila Beach about a day after the day of our last podcast. We've been sacrificing a lot for the show, man. We were on right before Christmas. We're on right before New Year's. The love is big. We love you guys. That's why we're doing this. All right.
No question.
So, a couple laundry list items. I want to bring on our guest. I'm also kind of fighting a little cold myself, so I'm not going to be the same energetic Alex. But what's good is that we're bringing on a guest so that he will fill in more airtime for me, plus what he was originally what he was originally planning to do for airtime, plus more airtime. Right. Because I'm going to give him more. So
we're going to be like a three-headed monster or something here.
Three-headed monster. Yeah. And he's very smart. I mean, it's evidenced in his company name.
That's right.
So a couple laundry list items. Make sure to give us 5 stars on Apple Podcast and also Spotify. All you got to do is go on the app. It's on your phone. I think everyone has these, right, Wade? I think.
Last I checked, I think it's pretty much mandatory at this point.
Yeah. I mean, every time I go to a Starbucks, I see no one talks to each other. They're just looking down. The phone has one, electronics has one. And make sure to go on there, give us 5 stars. We're also going to be hiring a part-time Friday Vibeman that will be reaching out to people all over LinkedIn to get you as a sponsor. If you want to sponsor our show, we'll shout you out. So I think that's about it. And then if you want to also be a guest on our show or sponsor, make sure to reach out to us, Friday Vibes 100, that's 100 at gmail.com. We got some great guests coming up. We have Allison Kane in the new year on January 13th. We have Brad Woodgate. And on January 27th, Luke Abbott. And we also have Daniel Scharf, who has been bumped and scheduled for February 24th. So some exciting stuff coming up. All right. Well, without further ado, our guest, I'm looking at his LinkedIn profile. It doesn't really do justice to who this guy is. So I'm going to let him do the talking and talk about his story, his product. And I just recently figured out how to pronounce his last name. So that's good that we're connecting on this level.
As in recent last 5 minutes or so, right?
Yeah. I mean, we don't prepare at all. There's no script, just chat. There's no briefing. What do they call that? Like on set, like a briefing person or a green room or all that shit?
Something like that. Yeah.
I mean, we have a green room. But
right.
As you can see, not the green room you would think about. So our guest is Will Nitze, and he is the CEO of IQ Bar. You go to eatiqbar.com. He's hailing from Boston, Massachusetts. Will, how you doing, man?
Good. How's it going? Well, I know how it's going. It's not going great for you, but good to be here regardless.
Yeah. It's really awesome to finally meet you. I have not ever met you, I don't believe, at any trade shows. Do you go to expos like the Expo West, Expo East? Do you attend those usually?
No events. 0 events.
0. Okay. Wow. Now why is that?
I don't believe in them.
Interesting. Tell us more.
I think I don't know. I was sort of agnostic to it. And I started not fully bootstrapped, but super capital conscious back in 2018 when that was less in vogue than it is today. But I always just was super capital conscious. And so I always just thought when everyone was going to Expo West or Expo East or Fancy Food or whatever, I always was like, whoa, wait a second. You're going to spend X amount of dollars. You're going to fly all these people out there. You're going to have 20 meetings leading up to this event talking about how you plan to make this event great. You're going to schedule a zillion meetings. You're going to go and hopefully all of that goes off seamlessly. And I always thought like, damn, that's a huge opportunity cost. Because it's not just that, it's all this stuff then you also weren't doing because you were doing that. So it's like 2x. And I was like, that has to be so compelling for me to do that at an early stage. And then as we got a little farther along, it was like, okay, actually we could do this. Then it was more of like, at first it was like, I don't have the money or the people or the time or the whatever. And then it was like, okay, I guess we could do this. Can we justify this? And I don't know. We've just never been able to justify it. I know I talked to a lot of people who are like, it's such a great event, and I'm sure it is, any of these events. And we got XYZ sales from it and made ABC partnerships from it. And that's awesome. But I've also talked to a ton of people who are like, that didn't happen. And so I don't know, just never been into it.
Yeah. And
we're also an e-commerce first brand. So in our DNA was not this world of brick and mortar. We started with a Kickstarter and then we moved into website and we rolled that into Amazon. And still to this day, where the majority of our revenue comes from e-com. So I think that plays into it as well.
Yeah. And I think when going to these shows, I haven't gone as long as other individuals. I know Wade's been in the business longer than me, but I've been going to Expo West for 8 years. And obviously we missed a couple along the way with COVID. And there are so many brands like in the emerging area, like on the bottom floor, right? Which is, they call it the basement, I believe, in North Hall, that you don't see them the next year. You see them for 1 year. Either they're gone, they're out of business, or they deemed it not to be profitable. And I'm a believer that most events are just not profitable. Like they just don't make sense for a company to actually be there and spend that level of money and resources and flying people out. And I mean, we're located in Southern California, which is, I'm about 55 minutes from Anaheim right now, the convention center. And it's still a lot to go there. So what I usually do is I just walk the floor. I go there to connect with people, but I'm not going to be spending any more money than, let's say, $500 for a badge or whatever. So that's my take on it. But so your e-commerce, you started e-commerce, and what's your strategy there? Because you started there, now you're breaking into retail. Are you always going to be e-commerce focused?
Well, Alex, correct me, Will. You actually did this Kickstarter thing first, right? And I don't want to I want to talk about e-commerce, but I'm really interested in the Kickstarter, how the evolution from idea to Kickstarter to e-commerce, like how did that all happen?
We could spend the whole hour on the Kickstarter alone. That was a crazy period. So I'll give you some background. I worked in software right out of college because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was selling like $300,000 a year software packages to oil and gas companies. So I was flying back and forth to Houston and selling, software to ExxonMobil or whatever. Did not like it. I thought it was great. I'm really glad I cut my teeth in that. It was kind of a startup-y company, and it was a demanding environment, work long hours. I figured out what it means to work hard and run a good meeting and write a good email and yada, yada, yada. But I was not passionate about it. I was not going to do it for the next 30, 40 years of my life. And I sort of stumbled into nutrition. I got really into it because I read really 2 books, changed my perspective and got me interested in it. The first one was Mission in a Bottle by Seth Goldman and Barry Nailbuff.
I read that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's like to this day my favorite business book. But I went to Harvard and studied government and psychology and neuroscience. But Seth Goldman went to Harvard and he studied government. And there's just all these weird parallels with me and Seth Goldman where I was like, wait, I am this guy. And the story goes, he was walking in a park and he drank tea and it was too sweet. And he's like, why isn't there less sweet tea? And I was just like, I want to be this guy. And so I was like, I'm going to start a beverage. That was like the first little inkling of like me being interested in this space. And then I read another book called Grain Brain by David Perlmutter. And that just like blew my mind. So the basic idea being, we eat things and we look at how they interact with our body, meaning like our gut, our thighs, our whatever. We gain weight or we lose weight. And no one really thinks about how it affects your brain because there aren't nerve endings in your brain. So you don't know when you hurt your brain by eating a pizza, but you do kind of feel queasy or obviously you see weight gain and things like that. It's more ostensible than what do you do in your brain? And so there's like the short-term effect, right? You eat a pizza and you can't think at 2 p.m. And then there's the long-term effect, which is the real killer, which is, well, let's say you ate pizza every day for 40 years. And then you get dementia, you get, let's say, Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or what have you. And sort of like the standard reaction to that is, well, I was genetic, right? Like maybe my grandmother had Alzheimer's or maybe I was just predisposed to it. And the reality is very much so that maybe that is true, maybe it isn't, but you also epigenetically, meaning like you turned on and off certain genes through your diet over decades and decades and vastly increased the odds that shit was going to hit the fan with your brain. And then it did. And so it was basically like this intersection of nutrition and cognition. No one was really talking about, mostly because there wasn't a ton of longitudinal data on it. Because it's hard. I mean, you need you need to like really have definitive data. You need decades and decades long studies. And you need to know what people ate, right? That's tough because it's like self-reported. It's just very, very tricky. And so he tried to tackle that. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. How do people why aren't people focusing on this? And then that kind of like segued into an interest in brain food, quote unquote. I was like, well, okay, if this guy has this great regimen, I'm so busy. I don't like to cook, which may or may not seem ironic, but I just want something ready to eat, like to go. That's like brain food. Like, does brain food exist? And then it didn't really. And then this is a very roundabout way to get to the Kickstarter, but then I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. How do I do it? Like, how do you get money? I was starting at zero, right? I was selling software. And I didn't know anyone in CPG. No one in my family was in CPG. So I called like 5 people in Boston who had CPG companies. I was like, how did you do it? And it runs the gamut of like, I had saved up money and I used that, or my uncle bet on me and then I used that check to start, or whatever. But one group of guys did a Kickstarter and I was like, that seems compelling to me because there's the whole valuation chicken or egg problem where you're not a tech company, right? So at the time I had friends who had raised $3 million on a 10 million value right out the gate with a PowerPoint deck and a good team. And that just does not exist in CPG. And for better or worse, everything works backwards from sales. So I thought, okay, I need money. I'm going to need to raise money, but I need sales to justify a valuation to not massively dilute myself with that first money. So how do I solve that like chicken or egg problem? Because I need money to make the product, to sell the product, to get the sales. So how's that work? And basically Kickstarter solves that problem to a degree, at least at a theoretical level. You can get all these pre-sales. You can then take that money, give it to a co-packer. They make your stuff, fulfill all those orders, and then go to investors and say, hey, I got all these sales. I'm now worth X. Give me Y amount of money at Z valuation. And it works. Again, in theory, big asterisk. You have to actually succeed, right? You have to go sell thousands of orders on Kickstarter. So that's a whole other topic. How do you get that to happen with basically no money? But it's at least it was a great way to start.
So Will, did you have, did you have in your mind, obviously you did because you have it on Kickstarter, but how did you develop what the product was going to be? Like, you mentioned kind of on the go, but getting from the idea to the physical product, how did that go about?
I mean, that was like, it was me in my living room. So here's like the literal thought process. I want to make brain food. Cool. What are the nutrients that have the most backing that they're good for your brain? Could be good because it helps you grow new neurons. Could be good because it gives you brain, mental energy. Could be good because it staves off dementia, whatever. What's good for your brain? And so I like laid it all out. So it's like, cool, vitamin E, magnesium, flavonoids, MCTs, et cetera, et cetera. And then I was like, okay, great. And this is all in Excel. I was like, great. For each one, what are the things that are literally the highest in that is a whole food? So like with vitamin E, it would be sunflower seeds and almonds and, at least, and then for like omega-3s, vegan omega-3s, it would be like flaxseed, chia seed. And for flavonoids, it would be matcha and cocoa powder, yada, yada. Right. So, and then it was literally like, okay, I have these lists. Can I make a product out of like combining A, B, C, D? Like, is there some permutation of me combining all these things that would be a product? And bars are, and then there are a bunch of sub questions. I only want to play in a big market. Like, the huge one is cost of goods. Like, this thing can't cost $1 zillion, right? That, I would argue that's the toughest part of the whole equation, but we can get back to that. I wasn't even thinking about that at first, but basically I netted out like bars are a thing where you can mash a bunch of stuff together and it's like a serving. So like, okay, I'll do bars. And then I would just call, and also I bought like every bar ever. And this is one of the crazy things to this day about food and bev is the recipes on the back. Like, it's so wild. And so,
Oh, I think, did he freeze? All right, I think he froze. I thought it was just a very, very long pause.
No, I was going to say we were on a roll.
Yeah. All right, well, Will, if you can hear us, if you can jump back in through the StreamYard link. Let's reset the room until he comes back.
Okay.
This is episode 49 of Friday Vibes. I was getting ready to jump in and do it anyway. Let's read some comments. This is right before New Year's. So happy New Year to our CPG food and bev community here. I just feel like he's punking us and he's still there and he's just very still and he's going to be like, I got you. I got you. So we'll see. So Kenny Hausman, happy Aloha Friday. Unfortunately, cannot stick around as working on opening a new store. He's with Foodland. Okay, he dropped off. He'll be back momentarily. Let's see. Martin Stoops, biggest regret of 2022 is not sponsoring Friday Vibes from Maple Valley Cooperative. Hopefully my next life. Yeah, I did read that Martin Stoops is leaving Maple Valley Cooperative on LinkedIn. So a lot of people moves happening these days, right? Right, Wade?
Yeah. That's, it's opportunities. We talked about this, opportunities for new things. And Martin's been a good support of the show and excited to see what's around the corner for him because I'm sure it's going to be something meaningful and big things. Martin's good people. So
for sure.
I think I saw, I know Billy was on here and he texted me a photo of his screen. It was just a blank screen. Like it wasn't working for him. And I thought someone else had in the comments that they had some trouble too. So I'm not sure what's going on. It's Y22K or something. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Some kind of major breakdown.
There's Will. There he is.
Will.
sorry.
I want to bring you back on. We just took a little like a pause. We're going to read some comments out, then we'll go back to your story. You there?
Yeah.
You're so still. I don't know if it's frozen or like, yeah, when you were talking, you were very still, and then when you were talking, you just went like this. You're like, "I did it," and then like we thought you were just pausing for a really long time to think.
Huh.
And like then after like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, we're like, I think he's frozen.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No worries. I think StreamYard is having some technical difficulties. This usually happens once every couple of months. I think, Wade, we got to get our Friday Vibes legal staff on that and send out some kind of, threatening letter to StreamYard saying, hey, stop screwing up our show.
Exactly.
We're hiring the part-time admin, then we're going to be hiring a lawyer in that order.
Right.
So Robert Walski, have we started? Okay, there's probably a technical difficulty. Stephanie Hui, greetings. Daniel Caccioni, woohoo. Bilal, greetings and happy new year. What's up, Bilal from Balani's? Nice hat, Alex. I can pretty much guess who that is, right? It's probably Rich.
Yep.
I don't see his name. It says LinkedIn user.
Yep.
Tall Garden, go 2023 vibes. She's with Fun Sesames. Ari Raz, Tom Malingo, happy new year. Patrick Sinclair, congratulations to him for recently completing the road to 100 with Forage. That was the final one. Couple more here, and then we'll get right back to your story. And then I wanted to pause though, like a couple more. Andrew Arbogast it's Arbo cheese, right?
Yep, Arbo cheese dip. Yep.
Interesting to hear your thoughts on Fucha as well. I've probably done 5 in the last year, but none have seen a return. That's a shocker right there. So Genius Juice has done a couple of crowdfunding campaigns. We did WeFunder, we did Republic. What are your thoughts on, you did the Kickstarter, that story of getting money to fund the PO and to get customers, right? That's a objective with Kickstarter, and get your name and your product out there and get some sales on the books. What do you think of like WeFunder, Republic? Would you ever go to them versus raising from traditional investors? I know you've already raised from traditional investors, but curious to hear your thoughts on just traditional crowdfunding. And is that a good route?
It's a great question, because I think people mistake things like Kickstarter for what I think they should be. This is my opinion. I'm sure other people disagree. Kickstarter is not really a way to fund your business. It's a way to get a proof point for your business and prove that you have a product people want and sell X amount of units of that product. Like, your margins are going to be so bad from the get-go and all that, and you're going to make so many mistakes that are costly that like you're not going to be able to truly get your business off the ground on a Kickstarter. What you will be able to do is prove out your product and try to get an approximation of proving product market fit, and hopefully as a result or as a byproduct raise money on that. So that's how I always viewed it from the get-go. And it worked. I mean, that was the goal. We executed on it, and then we raised money on it at a good valuation.
Because you build sales.
We had data, we had sales that we could prorate and yada yada. The WeFunder thing is really interesting. No, I would not do that. Not to knock it. It's clearly worked for many folks. The challenge I have with it is a fewfold. So number one, like and you know more than I because you did it, but whatever filings you have to do, right? There's these legal hurdles to jump, but let's say that's only just X amount of hours and it's a pain in the ass, but whatever, right? So there's that. The big one though is driving people to the page and the platform, and with Kickstarter, we had to drive a ton of people there, and then we got momentum and we were like trending, and then we got a bunch of organic stuff. But the job was running Kickstarter. The job wasn't running the company. It like took over as my job as priority number one, which is not to say traditional fundraising doesn't do that. It does to a degree, but I don't know. You're not having to drive people a page and getting a zillion folks to contribute X. Instead you're trying to find some person to contribute 5,000x. And I don't know. It's clearly popular, right? There's a lot of people trying to do it. It seems hard to hit your goal. It seems like most people don't, but you can correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yeah, I can jump in on it. I mean, we raised about 2 years ago the 1.07 million on Republic, which we basically maxed our campaign, right? At that point in time, that was a legal ceiling that we can go to. Now with Reg CF, which is online, in the SEC's eyes, Reg CF is an online crowdfunding. You can now raise up to 5 million online, that's a lot of money. And so the way that we actually built our campaign is that was, Shark Tank, all the people that signed up for newsletters, all the people that knew the brand. It was a lot of work, and there were multiple angles to make that. It wasn't like one magic bullet. It was like me calling people, me calling existing investors saying, hey, look, I'm not asking you to put in 50,000. I'm asking you to put in 1,000, because the more money that we put in, the more progress we show and traction, that's going to ignite the campaign. And others that don't even know us will see the campaign and want to invest because there's all this money going into it and they get excited about it. And usually the first level to crack, and again, I can do this all day, I'll make this short, is 25,000. You want to get to 25,000 on Republic or WeFunder, because then they list you on the front page. And then once they list you on the front page, then you have 700,000 members, right, of WeFunder. I think I can't remember what Republic's is, but it's large, just like that, where they now see you on the front page as a trending campaign. And then you kind of let it have a life of its own, and it gets momentum on its own because it's like a snowball going downhill. So, but the trick was most campaigns fail because they're not able to get it, lack of a better word, kick-started or jump-started.
Yeah.
They can't get to that 25,000. They never get on the front page. And then after that, they just kind of close the campaign. And also, if you don't reach, I think, 25,000, you don't even get any money out from the campaign. They just shut it down, and you're at a loss because of all the legal fees, right, to get your campaign started. So I would say it's a good move for a business that's native to online, because you'll get a lot of new investors, and then they will then order your product online. The downside to it is that, you're going to have 1,000 new investors or 500, even though it's under one line item on your cap table. You still have to deal with that.
Well, here's another question I have for you that I never dug super deep on, but was just something I had thought about, which is, generally speaking, what the valuation you're going to peg is multiples higher on, let's say, WeFunder than it would be that you would try to get from, let's say, a VC. Right?
Exactly.
That seems to be fairly consistent. And I guess that's okay into that, but let's say you don't. Does that create problems in a subsequent round? I guess unless you keep doing WeFunder or whatever. Let's say you were raising from a VC the subsequent round. Let's say you raised it, whatever, 100 million at value, and then you come back 2 years later, and the VC is like, look, you're worth 40. Obviously, all the folks who invested via WeFunder get massively diluted in it. But does that create functional problems and like sort of risk hanging over you as you go like round to round?
Well, the good thing about Republic and WeFunder, and where the investors get a benefit from investing online, is that they're typically a C note or a safe. They're not equity. So for those that are not familiar with this, longer story short, is that when you do a C note raise or a safe raise, safe note, which is basically very similar, the valuation is yet to be determined. There is a cap. There's a cap on it, but there's no determined valuation on the business. So let's say we raise on Republic at 100 million, which would be amazing, but we're not. And then we raise from VC at 50 million. All those investors that came in on WeFunder Republic, let's say Republic, they will then get 50 million as their valuation. So it actually doesn't dilute the investors. It actually benefits them if the valuation is lower than what it is on Republic.
Got it. Because the standard is a cap as well as a discount. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a discount, there's a cap, and then the safe doesn't have an interest rate.
Yeah.
Interest rule, but the Republic.
So they get 20, let's say 20% cheaper than the 50 in the subsequent round.
Yeah, they'll get like.
So really you would get screwed, not them.
We get diluted across the board, and so that's the running risk of doing an online campaign, especially if you raise. So I think like the key thing is that when you raise, I know I'm going to loop in Wade on all this, but when you raise online, make sure you have a pathway to utilize that capital to increase the chances to really grow, not only to grow from, just distribution, but grow from revenue, because now you're under pressure to grow. And if you don't grow, you have all this money from Republic or WeFunder, you don't have a solid plan of execution to grow your brand, grow distribution, do marketing. You don't know where the money's going. Like you don't do your homework. Then you run into an issue where you're going to come back a year later and be like, oh, how we raised at 40 million? We're actually needing to raise now at 20 million because we did not execute on our plan. So that's a danger with crowdfunding, because you're promising. I wouldn't say you're promising, but you're telling them a story and what you're going to do based on the money you raise. And honestly, most brands don't hit those goals. Like if you look at Republic or WeFunder, like you go on anyone that's watching the show, go on there, go on Republic or WeFunder. And if you look at, what they're dictating on their growth, sometimes it's like not only a hockey stick, it's like a broken hockey stick. It's like straight up in the air. It's like, dude, you don't want to mislead investors, but you want to show where you could possibly go. So that's kind of a balancing act. So I want to flip it over to Wade and, change the subject here, because I just want to get him in on some of these conversations. So Wade, what are your thoughts on the brain space from a categorical point of view?
Well, I think we talked a little bit about it in other episodes. Like, when I left California earlier this year, if you asked me what one of the bigger categories, growing or segments or attributes, what have you, was going to be for 2022, I would have said mushrooms, because when I left, I was thinking, I was big in the Mudwater thing, Parker with his granola, Umbo with their bars. I just felt like what I was starting to see out there, I felt like it was only a matter of time before, you're going to see a lot of things. And I know Will uses some of those mushrooms in his products, but I kind of felt that. So I feel like that's certainly a segment that I feel has a lot of potential. The question I have is, or it's not necessarily a question, it's a statement. It's just the educational piece, and just understanding, when you talk about whether it's a keto thing or something, diet and lose weight and things like that, people get pretty easily, right? But understanding how the attributes, the ingredients, and all these things work to give you that support or give you that functionality you're looking for. I think the education piece is pretty important in this segment. And I guess my question is Will and chime in, is how do you continue pushing that educational piece to someone outside what I would call your core audience that already gets it, right? How do you appeal to the masses so that, hey, this is what this product's going to do for you versus, hey, this is lose weight, right? I mean, just very generically, what would you say?
Yeah, what I would say is a cardinal sin of CPG is to tether yourself to any trend other than trends that will never die, like low sugar, right? Low sugar will never die. I'm struggling to even think of another example that couldn't possibly die. Right?
Yeah, so low carb, maybe
gluten-free.
But even low carb, it's like some people care, some people don't. Like, yeah. So anyway, like, so take mushrooms, right? That is a trend. Is it a trend here to stay? I don't know. It's certainly not a mass market trend. I mean, what is mass market, right? There's like different tranches. Well, the way I think of mass market is like, could this do really well in club, let's say? If I put this on a table at Costco, would a ton of people stop by and buy it? So with like mushrooms, and keto is another good example, by the way. But with like mushrooms, it's a trend. And for me, I wanted to create a trend resilient brand. So it'll have mushrooms in it. And for the folks who are interested in that, that's awesome. They can double click on that more and nerd out on it, and great. Maybe that's a key reason they bought us. For people who aren't, which by the way is most people, I cannot have that be existentially an issue for me that causes them not to buy, because we're the mushroom bar, right? Just the same way as I can't be the keto bar. Like, to put keto in the name of a product, right? Like you're dead. I mean, not literally, but like, you are tethering yourself to a trend that we know will die, because all trends die. Or, it'll morph or whatever, but it's not going to be the same of your control. And for me, it's like keep as much as you can control in your realm. Enough will be uncontrollable, but don't tether yourself to trends. But now I'll say something that's a little bit counter and maybe paradoxical to what I just said, which is ride every trend. So don't tether yourself to trends, but ride every trend, which is a critical distinction. So like for us, so I'll take Quest Bar. Like they did it better than anyone, right? They were Quest Bar. They weren't tethered to a diet. And when keto came around, great. Like people that care about low carb, great. Let's like loop in the Atkins folks. Let's loop in the keto folks. They weren't ever tethered to anything. And therefore they were resilient to all things, but they rode the things, right? So we want to position ourselves to ride it, but not die if it dies. And so I feel that's exactly how I feel about mushrooms. Like I do not believe adaptogens ever truly break into the mass market. I don't believe it. And that's coming from a guy who consumes them daily.
Yeah. Look at, one thing I want to mention just as a case study is the brand Rebel. Rebel hasn't died off, but Rebel really focused on adaptogens on their branding for many, many years. That was, that's how they founded the company. Let's put in some mushrooms. Let's put in some maca, maca cold brew and all these different flavors, reishi chocolate and all that. And now they have in the last year or two pivoted to more like 3 years to more like just a shake protein. They have a protein line, which is actually doing very well compared to their original line. Yeah. It's really grown. So I think that's a key thing that Rebel is probably doing 15, 20 million if I had to guess, but they never hit that commercial success they were hoping for and promising investors, because that trend really never took it. It never really hit mainstream, and it's still niche after 8 years.
I think you had a good post on this, Alex, the other day about like, don't try to be everything to everyone. And you actually don't have to be mass market. So first, like we're even like too far. Let's just start at the beginning. What do you want to be? Like, what's the goal? Because the goal is not necessarily mass market. And by the way, everything's going to flow down from this decision. How much money you raise, who you raise money from, how much you dilute yourself, what products you roll out, yada, 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 yada. Like everything flows from that first question. Who do you want to be, and to where in the market do you want to live? What's your go-to-market strategy? But let's assume that, because people can say, like GTs is like $1 billion company. It's a funky brand. That's a weird brand. By all accounts, that's a weird brand, according to the average American. But it does a ton of money. How? They owned the category for a very long time. It got less weird. It's still weird though, right? So, but they can do it, and they can be mass market. A lot of people said they wouldn't and would have bet against them. They did. Cool. Can't, but that's like exceptional. So can like mushrooms have a GTs moment? It's always going to be weird. Can it get to $1 billion? Maybe. I wouldn't bet on it. And that might be okay if your goal was never to get that big. Maybe your goal is to do incredibly well in like Whole Foods and great. You can build a 10, 20, $30 million business that way. I've never been interested in that. My interest, not to say one is better than the other, but my interest is always, I want to be like mass market. I want like any random person for me to be able to give them my product and them like it. So like, I'll give you an example, like a chocolate bar. Well, I could give that to a kid and it's like, hey, here's a chocolate bar. I could give that to like a naturopathic person and like, oh, hey, here's this thing that has like lion's mane in it and adaptogen and this and that. I could give this to someone going to the gym and be like, yeah, 12 grams plant protein, keto, it's not going to spike your blood pressure, right? It's like fungible based on the different people. Therefore, I can be weird within segments, but the confluence of all those things is not weird because it can touch anyone. That's my goal. I think a lot of people would say that's the wrong way to do it. A lot of people would say you need to be simple, like be simple, be RX bar. It's all on the front. Lara bar, there's 2 ingredients, right? And there is a place for that. I think simple can win and has won. I don't think it's the only way. I think people eat Quest bars for different reasons. Some people like the taste of whatever, cinnamon bun, and some people eat it because they're trying to lose weight, and some people eat it because they want 20 grams of protein, and some people buy it because it's $1 cheaper than the Go Macro bar and yada, 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 right? They're like omni-valuable and therefore highly scalable.
I think you touched on a lot, and I kudos to, I would just echo a lot of what you just said, going back to the keto. And I know I've referenced the Atkins craze when I was still at store level, and this is going back, I don't know, 19 years ago. You rode that wave when Atkins was hot. You expanded your section out in the store, but you put in a point in the store where you knew it was going to be around forever, so that when it condensed, the products went away, the craze died down, you just made the section smaller, and then you moved out of it. And I think from a branding standpoint, you've touched on a lot that I would agree with. And going back to the mushroom example and the keto example, I think I wholeheartedly agree with what you said. Is like, if you have keto in your name, I think you're asking for trouble long term, based on longevity, based on trends and all those things. It's okay to have keto attributes or to be quote unquote keto friendly, but if you're hitching your wagon to the word keto and 5 years from now that means nothing, what is your brand, right? I mean, what is your brand? You have to go through that. Now, to your point, if you ride the wave and maybe in your short-term advertising or even packaging or limited time offers, special flavors, something like that, you shout out those attributes and use the word, it's okay, but then move on and kind of be nimble, right? As far as not attaching yourself to the entire craze, if you will. And I don't know, I think you touched on so many things there, and I think some of the comments are backing that up, Alex. And I know you had this one up. I think we wanted to talk to Will about it, right?
Question. Yeah.
This one here. So this is from Arbo's Dips, Andrew Arbogast at Arbo's Dips. So he's asking about managing scaling with preferred distributors other than local stores. Were you working direct with retailers? Did you use major food CPG distributors to access big retail? And I'm sure his question also might have the broker question in there as well. Is how did you scale where you wanted to go?
Yeah. It's tough. This is my first business. I've done it a certain way. So I can tell you all the learnings based on the way I did it, which is certainly an imperfect way, but has, let's say, worked on balance. I like the cardinal sin. I went into CVS as our first retail. So as I said, we started on e-commerce. We built up like a pretty nice business on e-commerce. Like we were doing 20K, then we were doing 40K a month, then we were doing 60K a month. Like we were like, there's a magical period there where like keto, you could freaking write keto on a brick and sell it to someone like Amazon. So like, again, like ride the wave. And waves are easier to ride online at first because people are searching for stuff quicker than things can hit shelves. So we got like decently big, and then we made enough like noise and had enough presence where not necessarily like retailers were calling us, but if I called the retailer, they could like corroborate that we weren't some Johnny come lately, you know? So anyway, we went into CVS, and that was, I will spare you the details. Challenging, shall we say. But then I connected with a Kroger buyer. Kroger was our second retailer ever. And we went into 1,000 Krogers. This was like less than a year into selling our first bar. And that was how we got to answer the question. We always got the retailer, and then that forced us into distribution. And then we got a couple, and then we were in enough DCs where we're like, okay, let's try and build out other DCs. We don't use brokers for the most part. We use brokers where effectively we're forced to use brokers, and I have no problem with brokers. And I think some are really great. And we do use a few brokers in very specific areas. Generally speaking, we are in such a tight margin business that you're going to have to claw 5 points of margin out of my dead hands not dead hands, but let's just say it's hard to claw it out of my hands, to convince me that it's worth giving away 5 points of margin, right? So that just is like a base case. So I'll do anything I can to try and get whatever retailer. And if I can't, cool, let's see if a broker can help me do it. And sometimes that happens. But yeah, it's sort of, there are a couple other interesting things about the whole omni-channel thing, to where if you can build a big enough e-commerce business, buyers are literally searching Amazon for, like, I won't name the retailer. I don't know if this is sensitive or not, whatever. I won't name them, but massive retailer, massive. The guy hits me up and he's just like, I look to what I put on my shelves based on what is doing well on Amazon, because it's like a leading indicator. It's a leading indicator. Like I said, people are searching for things before things hit shelves. So us just getting on Amazon had this epic halo effect of, like, literally these big buyers would contact us through our contact us form on our website, which I first found to be like crazy. I was like, whoa, that's like against every playbook I've ever read. But is the case, that is the case, at least to a degree. And then the other cool thing about online is you have so much data. You have so much data that you can then use to build compelling stories. Yeah, that I just have to say, it's worth underscoring, like, doing well online can massively benefit you in terms of just getting the doors. Whether or not it helps you turn it when you're in the doors, that's a different story, but getting the doors, very helpful.
And you also have the factor where people that buy your product online, which is, I'm looking at your Amazon ratings, having over 5,000 ratings is it's a successful brand on Amazon, right? To, like, because not everyone's going to leave a review that buys the product. So you can only imagine how many customers that Will has on just one SKU, is chocolate and fruit lovers variety keto bars. There's 5,000 ratings just on that one SKU, on that variety pack. But you're getting people that are already aware of the brand. Like they bought it online, they've seen it on an ad, they saw it on an email marketing, and then they go into the store looking for it. And I think that's a fundamental strategy that, Magic Spoon went after, right? I don't know how they're doing in Target, but they're in Sprouts as well. I know you guys are in Sprouts. That you're pushing people to the store, and I'm sure you did this. I'm going to join your mailing list now, and guilty as charged. I didn't join it before. That you probably let your customers know, hey, we launched at Kroger, we launched at Sprouts. If you don't want to wait online or you don't want to buy it online, go to the store. So I think, like, you also designed your product to be very e-commerce friendly, which has plagued us from the beginning at Genius Juice, where we have a heavy ass product. It's refrigerated, it's sensitive. If there's any if the FedEx guy leaves it on the wrong driveway, it's guaranteed to go bad pretty much. If it's sitting there in the sun for a day and then someone gets pissed off at us, even though it's FedEx's fault. A lot of that is kind of out of the equation with your product, where it could be on a truck for 5 days, 7 days, and it's still going to get there intact. The thing that I'm a marketing guy, and I also like that I don't know if you probably meant to do this, but I'm going to ask you, the double entendre of IQ bar, like Smart Water or, Genius Juice, where it may be good for the brain and body, but you're also saying it's a smart decision. Have you factored that in?
100%.
Yep. So
Well,
someone may not even know that it's good for the brain, right? Like they're not educated on brain ingredients, and you get a mainstream consumer that knows nothing about brain ingredients. They just want something to fill them up, or lose weight, which is the more common need, right? For an energy bar, or get energy from it. So you're targeting, getting energy, losing weight, filling you up, without having a meal on the go. And someone may not even have to know that it has brain food ingredients in it, right?
That's what I was saying. So Wade's point on the mushrooms, I feel the same way about the brain, right? We will lose straight up if we focus on the brain exclusively.
Right.
Like the brain is not mainstream. The brain is not mass market. One goes into a Kroger and is like, let me go find some brain food, unless they're getting like omega-3
salmon
fatty acid pills, and that's about where that stops.
Right.
So I think this is so the whole concept with IQ is like, okay, and it's kind of like gross organ, right? It's like brain bar. It's like, oh, am I eating a brain? It's a weird psychological consumer process. So keep it ethereal, right? IQ is kind of ethereal. It's like, it's just dust up there. And it's like, yeah, it can tie to anything. It's smart water, smart food, whatever. Again, it's fungible. I feel like I'm overusing that word, but it's an important word.
What is fungible? What does fungible
fungible
mean?
It means it can turn into different things. So like a dollar is fungible into yen or a Canadian dollar or whatever. You can turn it into different things. So IQ bar can mean different things to different people. So you're right. I mean, that was important to have that as our identity, because also like a protein bar, like people searching protein bar will find us. So again, no one goes, it's not a door opener, it's a door closer, the brain element. And you have to meet people. If I've ever learned anything in CPG, fight consumer behavior. Unless you're willing to spend $100 million and do not fight consumer behavior. Meet people where they are.
Don't try to revolutionize, right? Don't try to revolutionize what consumers want, because usually you'll lose, right?
Yeah, you'll lose unless you have a ton of money in 10 years or 20 years. But if you meet people where they are, and then like the rounding element is differentiation, you can win. But you can't start with that, right? So with bars, what do people care about with bars? It's always the same, always the same for time immemorial. Protein, sugar, lesser degree carbs. And then if people nerd out on protein, the source of protein, like is it vegan or not, right? That's what everyone cares about. And so if you start with like, oh, come get omega-3 and flavonoid, you've lost them. That's not why they showed up to the store. They showed up for those reasons. But if you start with like, check. Oh, and it has lion's mane. Like now you've won. So ordering is really critical.
Yeah, Will, and you look at we're running low on time, but I also want to go into the packaging of it as well, where I'm displaying it for those that are watching right now. Since we're also on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars. That I love the packaging where it's like it subtly winks at people. Like to me, it's really ingenious, pun intended, that on this packaging we're looking at, it has all the mainstream things you'd want, 12 grams of protein, low sugar, no low net carbs, keto, paleo, vegan, mainstream kind of, the look is unique, but also mainstreamable. But then for those that care about brain nutrients, you have a little subtle nod, like a little subtle wink on there. And then it ties in really nicely to IQ. So yeah, I'm not really nothing to say on it more than just job well done. I think it's killer packaging.
Oh, thank you.
Definitely.
And this is insanely hard. The call out stuff and identity, like I'm like 5 years in and I struggle with it still. Like the simple question of who are you and who are you for?
Yep.
Is wildly complex.
Yep. Who's your customer, right? Who's your consumer?
Yeah.
Let's get into our next segment here, because we also have a very, very, very good sponsorship this week, which is, I'm going to scroll up, which is Rich Insights, Richard Moniz. He has some kick-ass giveaways here. And then Will, I wanted just to put you on the spot, since your neurons are pumping from all the bars you've had for IQ. Did you want to throw in a prize of a variety pack for a lucky winner? I think it froze. Oh,
I said, yeah, let's do it.
cool. It's kind of like an offer you can't refuse, the way I phrased it. Like, do you want to let down all of our fans and people watching by not giving away a prize? Oh, you give away a prize? Great. That's, yeah, it's leading the
No
win.
to that question.
So we're going to go to things, stuff we love. Will, this really is just a segment we talk about other products that we love that's in our pantry or fridge. Again, we didn't prepare you for any of this stuff because there's no script, just chat. We just met you 5 minutes ago, or 57 minutes ago. So Wade, I'm going to start with you, and then I'm going to flip it to Will.
I'm going to be major lame here because, I just got back really about 36 hours ago. I got back late Thursday morning from California. So my cupboard's pretty much empty, but being that I brought back some kind of California bug with me, I'm loving these things right now. These honey herb Ricola cough drops have done me well with this bug I brought back from California. So I know that's lame, but that's what I've got, Alex.
Okay. Will, anything that you've recently had, you're like, man, this is awesome?
I've been crushing the Ricola things as well, coincidentally. But chicken fried rice from Trader Joe's, big fan.
Nice.
The entire frozen section of Trader Joe's, I could just list off like 10 things there. Incredible section.
Yeah.
I'll be checking that out.
My wife loves the chicken wrap at Trader Joe's. When she was pregnant, it was like the go-to, and I think you weren't kidding earlier where you like to grab and go, right? You like things that are already pre-prepared. Have you gone into any of the what is it, like Daily Harvest or Blue Apron, any of those guys at all? Nothing? Okay.
That's too that's too highbrow for me.
Too highbrow.
I just need chicken fried rice and like frozen burritos from Trader Joe's.
That's brain food right there.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's obviously working. So this is kind of bizarre. This is not something you eat straight, but I really love this brand. I don't know. It's called 1 Degree Organic Foods, and they have sprouted rolled oats. They had a bag that was the size of, like a trash bag, it seemed, at Costco. It was enormous. It was like 4 times the size of this. And it took us, I think, 8 months to get through it because oatmeal never goes bad. But after we got through it, it was no longer at Costco. So I bought it from Whole Foods, and it's sprouted, it's organic, it's gluten-free. I mean, I didn't know that was possible with oatmeal. And there's a story on the back of the family and the farm. It's pretty cool. So that is 1 Degree.
What do you think about stories on the back? What's the science on that? Does that work? Does it not work? Is it could go either way?
It could go either way depending on the product and depending on the story. I like to see stories about farms, like for like Vital Farms, right? It integrates with their brand, the pasture raised eggs. Where do these eggs come from? The sourcing story is very important. But
Right.
if I'm buying, fucking a chocolate bar, I don't care about the story about how they. I mean, I care about fair trade and all that, but as far as like how they make it or all that stuff, I don't really need to know that story. I just want to know what it is and why it's good for me, and why I should buy this over another chocolate bar. So it could go either way, but I tend to lean away from stories because that's valuable real estate on that packaging. I mean, you can educate people on your ingredients, on the benefits, on why they should choose you. And especially when you're going into natural, where people are just like, they turn the label around a lot more than, let's say, Kroger. They just grab it and they're on to the next thing on their list. You got to take advantage of that valuable real estate, in my opinion. So this is the other one that I've been obsessed with. I was on a Hue kick for a while. I think Wade is smirking. Is Taza chocolate.
The hockey pucks. The hockey pucks.
The hockey pucks. There's it's closed, so I won't open it, but there's 2 discs that are inside, and you break the discs up to little pieces. And this is stone ground cacao. It has organic cacao beans, and organic cane sugar, and it's 85%. It's super dark. They have vanilla. They have.
I think those guys are Boston based. I could be totally
They are.
wrong there.
That's. I'm gonna make this up. That's exactly why I brought this up for you. I'm gonna take.
They have killer displays too. They're wooden displays.
Yeah, like the rustic, kind of like the rustic.
The
poles or
racks
whatever.
they have these racks at checkout, and they're like real wood, and they're beautiful.
Yep.
They invested heavily in that, and I find this typically in the specialty section more than the checkout. I don't know why. Like it's not in the main.
Checkouts typically are paid space.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe you see it more out there, like on the East Coast, because that's where they're based. Still, but I typically see this like in the wine section, like the specialty cheese and wine. And I also see it in the baking section as well. So it's kind of random.
That's smart. That's smart to put it in the wine section.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, that's Taza. It kicks ass. And end of story. So. All right, let's go into our next segment, which is called Friday Freebies. And we're going to have an extra freebie, which is the offer he couldn't refuse, giving away also some bars of IQ.
Friday Freebies.
So, Alex, before we get too far into Friday Freebies, we have to talk about our ongoing sponsor, and that is VDriven.com and Luke Abbott, who are working feverishly to help us with the admin support that we're talking about. Hopefully be on board here in the next couple of weeks. But VDriven is a CPG partner for emerging purpose-driven brands. They fuel growth and innovation by providing strategies and support in every phase of the retail journey, from leadership coaching, brand management, accounting, sales strategy, day-to-day tactical support. They can be the end-to-end solution for a brand's business needs. Their leadership team has decades of real-life experience in all key areas of the business and knows what it takes to help make brands succeed. That's Luke Abbott, Luke.Abbott, 2 B's, 2 T's at VDriven.com, or you can go to VDriven.com, and they're our ongoing sponsor. Basically, think of it almost like a menu of choices, right? You go in and you fries, you want a drink, you can say, I want sales, I want operations, I want merchandising, whatever you want, they'll help you with. So thank you, VDriven. But our today's sponsor that Alex alluded to, and the hat that he's sponsoring or rocking right there, is Rich Moniz with Rich Insights. And Rich Insights was created to bring methodologies used by the biggest global CPG companies to smaller companies who are making a positive difference, whether that they be through consumer health, sustainability, or just plain good vibes and kindness. They use eye tracking as their main tool, and for about the same price of a listing fee, can test multiple package designs, determine a winning design, break down why it won, learn why the other designs failed, and use those insights to further enhance the winning design. They want healthier, sustainable, and more positive companies to get noticed and steal a higher percentage of attention at shelf. they do all this while planting trees based on the size of the study. So I don't know, Alex, if you want to touch a little bit on that. I think I got everything there. My screen cut off a little bit, but
Yeah, I just want to list his email really quick for those that want to get in touch with Rich Moniz. It's just Moniz, Moniz, and I think Wade will type it in there.
Yep.
Moniz. I'm sorry, I misread this. R Moniz, RMONIZ at richinsightsresearch.com, and we'll put it into the comments here. That's
Rich is a great dude. Great dude.
Yeah, and I think it's a cool service that he offers something that's affordable, that you can test your packaging. Like, okay, here's 5 different versions, and he sends it out to a bunch of people, consumers, and he's done all the research, all the categorical data research, what consumer would be the best fit for your product, and then he sends it out to them, and then they do an eyeball test. And not only do they pick the best packaging, but they share with you where the consumer's eyes are going on the packaging, which is also very, very key. So instead of just showing your family over dinner, what do you think of this? Like, you're actually getting to your consumer base, not to your significant other and cats. You want to go to a consumer base that's more legit. So, yeah.
So,
we also,
I was going to say, so the giveaway is he's giving away 2 prizes, right? Am I reading this right? He's giving away 2 prizes. So it's going to be Rich Insights branded bottle, and we'll come back to that in a second, and branded hat, which Alex is rocking. And even cooler is they're going to plant 25 trees in the name of the winner. And that leads into Alex's hat that he's wearing that I'll let him touch on. But the branded bottle is a legit Yeti bottle. It's not, something that you're just going to buy at the dollar store. It's a legit Yeti branded Rich Insights bottle. So it's the real deal. So it's a great prize. The hat, the bottle, the trees, it's good stuff for everyone.
Yeah, the bottle's super durable. I took it with me on our trip to Avila Beach. I take it with me golfing. I take it all over the place. It's the real deal, like Wade said. And then, so that's going to be 2 prizes for 1 winner, right, Wade? Am I reading that right?
I believe so. Yeah. So yeah, it's the bottle, the hat, and the trees. Yes. Basically, it's technically 3, but yes. So 1 winner, and then you've got the bars as well, right?
Yep. And then the bars, you know about them if you've been listening to the episode. Enough said. You're going to give away, what do you want to give away, like a variety pack or something, Will?
I'll give away what we call an ultimate sampler. It actually includes our hydration stick packs. We didn't even get in. We sell hydration stick packs as well, called IQ Mix. And then we're actually moving into coffee as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, IQ Joe.
And that goes back to like your point before, which is you have a brand name that could be transferred over and used in different categories. Like, the brand name is not stuck to one category or type of food, right? You can do IQ this, IQ that, and same thing with Genius. So I think it's brilliant, man. You set it up for some expansion, which is very smart.
So Rich is saying two winners for his package. He's saying.
Okay, so we're going to have 3 winners total, 2 for the Rich Insights, which is the bottle and the hat, and 25 trees planted in your name. And then also the ultimate sampler pack with the hydration sticks and the bars from Will Nitze of IQ Bar, our guest here. So at this point, I made a really big mistake, and I've not been running down any freaking questions that we could ask. Okay, and so the way this works, Will, is that we ask some question that happened, something that was mentioned, either a certain factoid or a certain date or a certain amount, a number, something that was mentioned in this episode that they would have to be paying attention to answer, and then win the prize. And we want to make it hard because our viewers are very smart. They hang on every word. So I don't have anything right now, but Wade or Will, do you have anything on your side?
I got something for you.
Nice.
Okay, this will be for the IQ bars and the sticks, right?
Yeah. Well, they could tell me what city I flew to in my first job out of college, where I was selling software.
Love it.
That's a really good one because you
Love it.
mentioned it, but you didn't focus on it. So it was like, you know, you kind of just threw it in there. So one more time, Will, what's the question?
Question is, in my first job out of college, I was selling software to a certain industry, and I was flying to a certain city all the time. What city was that?
All right. Someone said Houston. Someone said LA.
Should I tell you the answer? If it's one of those?
If it is one of those, then they win.
Well, it is one of them.
Okay.
Which
Houston.
one is it? Houston.
Martin
Martin
Stoops. Nice.
Whoops. There it is.
All right. So I got to think of one. I didn't have one ready either, Alex. We failed. We failed at this. I wasn't expecting we'd have three. Let me think about it a minute. I'll come up with something.
Yeah. I'm thinking about what we talked about.
I can come up with an easy one, but I don't know that we want to be too easy. But I don't know. It's the end of the year. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we want to give away kind of a post-Christmas, pre-New Year's.
Oh, it's not that easy. All right. So Will talked about the first major retailer that he was in that wasn't successful for a number of reasons. And what was that retailer?
I got a good one now. I got a real good one. And this one was mentioned somewhere on the latter half of the show, so it makes it a little easier. All right.
Andrew. Boom, right? There you go.
CVS.
Excellent.
All right. And then my question is what does Will like to pick up and eat? What is it and where does he go to buy it? And it's got to be verbatim. Like, what is it actually called? And we're giving away the farm here today. A lot of prizes. Where did Will go? Where does he go? Frequent for the fancy people out there. Trader. Okay. So you got to do both. I think. So we can one winner win twice? They cannot, right? It goes to the next.
No, he already won. So is it Bilal then?
I think Bilal. And that's right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Andrew and Bilal.
Yeah. So do they split the bars? I'm just kidding.
No. Martin's got the bars. Andrew and Bilal get
These are
the rich insights.
That's right. All right. So I think Bilal's will be the winner for the rich insights. Andrew Arbogast will be the other winner for the rich insights. And then we have the CVS answer, which is, I'm sorry, I screwed this up. Bilal won the rich insights.
Andrew won the rich insights. Martin won the bars.
Martin won the bars. There you go. Make sure to reach out. You will not win your prize unless you reach out to Friday Vibes 100, Friday Vibes 100 at gmail.com. And we will connect you with the sponsor and you can claim your prize and they will send it directly to you. So, all right. Again, this episode, the main ongoing sponsor is VDriven. So make sure to check out vdriven.com. And also you can email luke.abbott@vdriven.com, which will be in the comments here once more. We're just mentioning it again. And then Will, thanks for being on our show, for sharing your story and a lot of advice and insights. And Happy New Year to you and everyone that tuned in. And Wade, Happy New Year to you.
Definitely. Happy New Year. Thanks for joining.
Likewise. Thanks for having me on.
It's been fun.
EatIQBar.com if you want to go ahead and buy it. Go on Amazon, but I think Eat IQ Bar, going on your site and buying it, is that preferred, or either way, right?
Go on Amazon and leave a review. That's the only better thing. But yeah, let's just say eatiqbar.com is a good one.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Be safe out there. Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2023.